with. So we first started, and we've always been passionate about delivering a great user experience. So these adverts here are something we've done recently. And so it's really about trying to engage the user, get them to experience the ad, but the brand really wants them to do more. The brand wants them to, watch a video for the full length, the full 30 seconds or the 90 seconds. They want to click, and they want all these different layers of KPIs that they're looking to reach. We tend to focus on brand awareness creation by creating really good, engaging, high quality, rich media mobile campaigns. So over the years, we've worked with some of the biggest brands in the world, we've sort of quite proud of some of the biggest brands in the ad campaigns that we've done across Asia, where most of our audience is. We're a team of experts in technology. We've been pushing the limits of video technology and delivering consumer services for about 10 years now. So one of our very first claims to fame was that we actually live streamed and broadcasted to mobile phones in 2009 the live 2020 cricket, IPL 2020 cricket in India. And that was a real challenge. So we had to downlink from a satellite, we had to transcode on the fly, and then we had to encode it into about 8 different formats that would work then across multiple bit rates on mobile devices. And we really, from the very beginning, focused on the user experience and trying to put the customer at the top. But that's been a challenge. So the problems that we feel that we can solve is, well, the promise of digital about 15 years ago was we're going to bring the brands closer to the consumer, but in many respects it hasn't. We've got multiple devices, and there's really no direct connection between the advertiser and the consumer. So we're looking to change that. Gathering data across devices from a mobile phone to a desktop to a connected TV, it's simply not possible, particularly in a world of GDPR and data protection. So, there's a big problem there. They haven't got that close relationship that they wanted. There's a massive lack of transparency. If you take the simple ledger proposition that everybody will be able to look at the same database, in advertising at the moment, nobody really does that. There's a few companies that allow their clients to access it, but it's their version of the truth. So transparency is a really big problem for the industry. People knowing where the ad has been seen, what's been seen, the frequency, all of the key data is usually hidden behind other organizations' black boxes. So the whole advertising ecosystem at the moment is very inefficient. It's got a number of fraud and trust issues at every level. And there's up to 75% of every pound or dollar spent actually goes to middlemen. So we've got a problem with trust. And as Andrew was saying yesterday at Blockchain Live conference, trust, when there's a trust issue, there's an opportunity for DLT. And in the advertising industry, nobody trusts anybody. There's ad tech on top of ad tech, there's tools on top of tools, people checking the checkers. It's just gone crazy over the last 5 years. So the worst thing about this, from my perspective, people are trying to champion this for the consumer, is that the consumer's data is taken for free, it's used, it's abused, and advertising companies are using that data, and the consumer is not getting rewarded. Even worse, they used to be in most countries paying for it because of the bandwidth on their phones that they're paying for. They're actually paying for ads to be shown. So it's the worst you could ever imagine. So we want to change that. Consumer, their privacy, their respect, and actually their contribution into the ad industry is what we're all about. So we believe in a solution, and the vision that we've got is a platform, the infrastructure, and all of the tools to leverage cryptocurrency and DLT to create an ecosystem where consumers can take control of their data and their privacy, and they can monetize their time and attention. So if you click an ad in the future, if you engage with an ad, if you see to an end of the video, you'll receive a tiny pico payment. So we believe that this will actually change the game. Advertisers, they'll have a direct connection to the consumer for the very first time. When an advertiser makes a payment into the consumer's wallet, that's a new paradigm shift, a new type of relationship. We expect that to hopefully eventually mean that the middlemen, all of the middlemen, won't even need to be existed. We deliver one campaign. The second time we deliver a campaign, there's an opportunity in the future to send that directly to the consumer. No publisher, no one in the middle, no Google, no Facebook, just the brand and the consumer. So the publishers, are Unfortunately, in some countries and areas, they're actually sometimes some of the worst actors in the industry. They're often trying to game the system, and that's not their own fault. The system changes all the time, particularly in programmatic. How you can monetize this week is different. The rules change, the criteria changes, the policies change. So they're constantly trying to adapt and innovate. And as part of that, some publishers may fall foul of policy violations and issues when they're actually serving out. So we need to incentivize the publishers to act well. And one of the things that we're going to be able to do is to encourage them to act well. We'll see all of the granular information, and based on their performance, we'll be able to incentivize them. And they'll also be able to sell their traffic directly, and also means that they can gain a greater share of the money spent on advertising. And all of our adverts are going to be delivered from a decentralized platform with a distributed architecture. So hopefully won't go down, and adverts will always be served, and consumers will always be paid. So we've actually built this already. So we built the first version of our DLT-powered platform. So just to take you through the sort of, the consumer journey, the consumer goes to a publisher's website. Our technology is loaded in the background. It's called an ADK, an Ads Development Kit. That gets loaded, and that checks the ad formats, the spots on the page, the type of phone, the location, and then it will decide which type of ad to send out to that consumer. We have the Demeter yield engine, which optimizes all the yield and makes sure that what people see, if they haven't seen it, so things like frequency, targeting, and that comes into play into the yield optimization. And then we have the Argus Ad Shield, which I'll go into a little bit more later. And this is served out from a cloud-based delivery architecture, and the consumers will experience an ad, and ultimately we aim to pay the consumer for every interaction they have. So last week we launched a private beta version of a self-serve platform from end to end. So you can actually create, deliver, and look at the analytics for advertising campaigns today. And you can very shortly in the next version be able to tick a box, and this will all be tracked seamlessly on Hedera. We're rolling out our own sort of infrastructure for a mirror node at the moment. So when that's fully complete, that will all roll into that. So we'll have what will be the world's first end-to-end platform for advertising that includes DLT. So that'll happen over the next couple of weeks. And what this means is that the advertisers will have real-time access, they're fully in control, it's going to be as decentralized as we can and distributed as we can as we go through time. And it means that you can do this now. This isn't a dream, you can do this right now. So a little bit about our reach right now. Our audience, we're very big in Southeast Asia, but we do have traffic in the USA, Canada, and a little bit in the US, United Kingdom as well. But Indonesia and India are some of our biggest markets, and they're also very big for crypto as well. So we're hoping once the governance and the regulations are sorted out, which we hope will be very soon, that we will be in the right place at the right time to go after consumers quickly. So now moving on to about what we're doing with Adira. So today we use Hashgraph to augment our platform with DLT to help brands to track and verify their data and understand more about the interactions that are happening on the device with the consumer. So we're live on the mainnet. We've just done over 50 million live programmatic ad events processed on the mainnet. And we're currently, to save a bit of cash, we're batching those. So I think we've done just over 6 million transactions have been processed on Adira. I believe that makes us, accounting for a large portion of the mainnet traffic at the moment. And we expect our usage to scale rapidly, and it could be exponential over the next 6 months. So the tracking, verifying, and the data analytics is the first step in the roadmap, really, to paying consumers and respecting the consumers and paying them for their time and attention. So in terms of how we're using this to combat fraud, I'll sort of go through a little bit where it all fits in. So when the user hits the page and loads the ADK from the CDN, we go down and fetch additional data related to that request. So we have we have multiple layers, but 2 different sides. One is on the passive on the server side. It's when we look at things like the IP and other information and data that we've got to verify that this is real. We then have the active check on the device, which includes multiple layers from looking at the content, looking at, is this a banned page, is this a correct page? And then we're able to actually put information into our ADK that gives us clues to whether this is fraudulent activity, is it a bot, is it a spider? And this is one of the cruxes to where we use consensus. So after it's been verified, if it passes, the ADK fetches the advert and display that on the screen. When all the conditions are met, the advert is played out onto the mobile device. Now, after that, we get tracking events. So when an advert is loaded, when a page is loaded fully, we can ping an event to ourselves. If the user makes an interaction, if they scroll, all of these different events that happen on the page, we can track, and that's what we're putting and verifying, and then putting that into Hedera. If the KPI is reached, then we begin the payment process. So why are we using Hedera Hashgraph? Well, the key points for us really is it's all about consensus and it's all about the cryptocurrency. You probably have guessed that already. And it's really about making a fair, transparent, scalable ecosystem for advertising. But our broad objectives right now for Hedera Hashgraph really are to reduce the amount of fraud in the ad industry, reduce the amount of money lost by brands. As I mentioned, a large portion of the money is spent on middlemen, and to improve the conditions for publishers. They will ultimately be paid more, in more control. And the holy grail is to reward consumers for their role. So how can Census help AdsDax? Well, if you have a fully auditable trail of events, this enables us to look at the sequence of things, how they should occur. So many of the fraudulent activities occur by automatic spiders, clicking or anticipating what's happened when they build a little robot on the spot, and then it starts clicking away. Now, those things are not always as easy to detect as you can imagine, but one of the key things to look at that is how the ordering system works. So, and the events for us, they're verified by a third party. So this adds an extra feeling of trust for the brands. They say, right, this has been verified, okay. And AdsDax can create, a single auditable sort of version of the truth. All parties can look at on a per event basis. If there's an issue, they'll be able to go back in time and go, oh, there it is. That's why you didn't get paid for that, because that wasn't a payable event. And everybody can look at the same set of figures. At the moment, there's companies that literally trying to track everything, and it's like, well, how did you arrive at that? What was your process? How did you get there? And they go, oh, that's not that box. Now we can be fully transparent. So obviously the key thing for us is low cost transactions. It actually means that we can create a viable, scalable business model on this as well. So if we can create a viable, scalable business model for advertising, huge, high volume, super dependency on real time, you can just imagine the possibilities for everybody else. We nail it for advertising. Hedera Hashgraph can nail it for pretty much any other use case. So speed, it's all about speed at the end of the day, and everything we've seen so far is impressive. So that's why we use consensus. So just going back to how the ordering works. Now, if we check that event has been triggered in the right order, we'll be able to detect at which point the fraud occurred or the issue occurred, and that's basically from all the timestamping. We can make sure that happens. So we'll be then building in additional checks after an event has occurred and looking back in history and saying, actually, no, that was fraud. Then we can adjust our optimization engine, and then we'll know which are the best spots, which is performing better, which is dodgy traffic. So we know, for example, when the page loads, it's on the viewport of the mobile phone, the click event isn't clickable. So if they click the event and we see the timestamps come before, we know there's an ordering problem there. This is not a human. So we're actually basically built a system where we can make sure that this is human activity, and that's the most important thing to the brand. So how does the cryptocurrency service help AdsDax? Well, real-time cost-effective payments on a per-event basis, granular detail, finality really adds the sort of crux to us so that we can actually know this is the information. Advertisers can track and audit their campaign funds in real time. They can make adjustments with our self-serve platform. They can stop it, they can have a look. The whole fair ecosystem really is about embracing everybody in the ecosystem. If they're a publisher, a technology provider, they will be able to use our tools. They will be able to understand how things work, understand the ordering. they will be able to use our ad server to help them to fight fraud at every level. So we believe, this is pretty much game changing for the ad industry. So our vision for a decentralized ad industry is that where advertisers can trust the data and the stats, they can stop wasting money on middlemen. Publishers are paid in real time, and we can check the quality of the inventory we receive. New tech providers can join the ecosystem. We can have people serving out through their own content delivery network. We're hoping that publishers and other industry actors will join part of our global CDN for delivering the content and the ads, the images out to the consumers. Consumers, at the end of the day, the most important, their data and privacy is going to be respected for the very first time in the ad industry. That is the big game changer. Consumers are going to be placed at the top. We focused our history on user experiences. Now we can actually reward the consumer for everything they've done. So what's next for us? Well, build, test, build, and we're seeking some cash. But we're looking to build on the case studies that we've done, looking to do more. We're looking to test out the Census service to see that's going to help us build out our own mirror node infrastructure and the tools to enable that to go into our self-serve platform to the Block Explorer type of tool set. And we're going to build our consumer dashboard. We think that whilst the industry is full of KYC problems and verifying real users from real humans, we're trying to work on a solution where we're either going to embrace fully KYC in a number of countries or have an intermediate solution. So we're hoping that the governments around the world sort their act out quick and faster for us, but we're going to be ready next year, and we're seeking £1 million in cash to help us to fund up and improve the product market fit and the technical viability, and that's going well at the moment. So, any questions, guys?